The Slender Man is an alleged paranormal figure, alleged to have been in existence for centuries, covering a large geographical area. Believers in the Slender Man connect his appearance with many other legends around the world, including the Dark Man in Scotland, the Dutch Branch Man, and the German legend, the Tall Man. The Slender Man is a being male in appearance, with extremely long, slender arms and legs. He also appears to have 4 to 8 long black tentacles that protrude from his back. Different photographs and enthusiasts disagree on this fact, so it's theorized he can contract these tentacles out well. He is described as wearing a black suit, strikingly similar to the visage of the notorious Men in Black. As the name suggests, he appears very thin. He is able to stretch his limbs and torso to inhumane lengths in order to induce fear and ensure his prey. Once his arms are outstretched, his victims are put into something of a hypnotic state, where they are utterly helpless to stop themselves from walking towards him. He is able to generate tendrils from his fingers and the back that he uses to walk on, in a similar fashion to Dr. Octopus. His superhuman stretching ability can also be seen resembling Mr. Fantastic. Whether he absorbs, kills, or merely takes his victims to an undisclosed location or dimension is unknown, as there are never any bodies or evidence left behind in his wake to deduce a definitive conclusion from. His face is pale and slightly ghostly. It almost appears to have been wrapped in a type of gauze or cloth. His facial features are an object of debate. Many people believe that they look different to each person, if they are even seen at all. He is sometimes portrayed as wearing a hat, which can be a bowler, fedora, or even a top hat. He may also be seen wearing a long, flowing necktie or scarf, which is either red or gray. He often keeps his hands crossed politely behind his back or hanging loosely at his sides. His suit is black, sometimes pinstriped in artwork, a common misconception thanks to the similar Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas. He has long coattails, which he lets flow proudly. He wears long dress shoes, which are always shined a perfect gleaming black. Much of the fascination with Slender Man is rooted in the overall aura of mystery he is wrapped in. Despite the fact that he is rumored he kills children almost exclusively, it is difficult to whether say his only objective is slaughter. Oftentimes, it is reported that he can be found in sections of woods, which generally tend to be suburban. He also has been seen with large groups of children, as many photographs portray. It is commonly thought that he resides in woods and forests, and preys on children from within. He seems unconcerned with being exposed in the daylight or captured in photos. It is often thought, as well as that he enjoys stalking people who become overly paranoid about his existence, purposefully giving them glimpses of himself in order to further frighten them. For this reason, it seems like Slender Man very much enjoys psychologically torturing his victims. He appears to float or drift around rather than walk, which suggests the possibility of him being an ethereal entity rather than a creature or man. This would also explain why he is able to remain mobile in spite of his poorly proportioned body. Even though Slenderman was fabricated on the Something Awful forums, many people have claimed sightings. He's apparently seen mostly at night, peering into open windows and walking out in front of lone motorists on secluded roads. His main intentions appear to be kidnapping children, as when he is seen near them in photographs, they usually disappear shortly afterwards. The Slenderman has also inspired many stories, such as those of the Marble Hornets. In the end, though, his purpose remains unknown. Now, there are many historical references for Slenderman. The earliest argued reference to the legend of Slenderman is within the cave paintings found in National Park in the northeast of Brazil, which are believed to date from as far back as 9000 BC. These paintings show a strangely elongated character leading a child by the hand, but make no reference to the extra appendages. Egyptian hieroglyphics. The next known possible allusion to the Slenderman comes from 3100 BC in Lower Egypt. References to the thief of the gods became commonplace during the reign of the pharaoh. Hieroglyphic carvings represented the thief were found in the pharaoh's tomb, who was rumored to have had some kind of encounter with the entity. The carvings resembled a strange figure with multiple upper limbs, one that has never been found in any other hieroglyphic language. German woodcuts. Renowned German woodcutter created at least 2 woodcuts featuring a character he described as the Knight during the mid-16th century, which were eventually discovered in a castle in 1883. While he was known for his realistic depiction of human anatomy, these pictures featured a skeletal, multi-limbed character. Historians are unsure of its exact symbolic nature. Some claims it as a personification of the religious wars that raged in Europe at the time, while others say it represented the little-known plagues that have been believed to be the reason for the mysterious abandoning of the castle, as well as the nearby village in 1543. However, many insist that these attempts were to represent the Tall Man. According to the legend, he was a fairy who lived in the Black Forest. Bad children who crept into the woods at night would be relentlessly chased by the Tall Man, who wouldn't leave them be until he either caught them or they were forced to tell their parents of their wrongdoings. There is a chilling account from an old journal of this era, dated to about 1702. My child, my Lars, he is gone. Taken from his bed, the only thing found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but it's softer, thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday, screaming at the top of his lungs that the angel was outside. I asked him what he was talking about, and he told me some nonsense fairy story about the Tall Man. He said he went into the grooves by our village and felt one of my cows dead, hanging from a tree. I thought nothing of it at first, but now he is gone. We must find Lars, and my family must leave before we are killed. I am sorry, my son. I should have listened. May God forgive me. There's also a Roman fairy tale, which tells the legend of the tall man, featuring this description. The tall man stood in a clearing dress as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows laid over him, dark as cloudy midnight. He had many arms, all long and boneless like a snake, sharp as wood, withering like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. In the fairy tale, the tall man caused a mother to kill her husband and child before murdering her. English mythology. There's an English myth referred to the tall tree man, who is said to have a slim body with appendages that look like tree branches. He is only known to be seen in the woods, and was used as a story that parents told their children. To refuse bad behavior. Quite a few disappearances of children are said to have been linked to the tree man. Now, this is possibly the most famous creepypasta character of all time, and certainly the one that has crossed most frequently into mainstream media. The Slender Man, also known as Slender Man, is a character born off a variety of early influences, but which itself represents an evolution in the uses and development of folklore, as we just discussed. Violent real-life events linked to the Slender Man character increased in its infamy, and even led to a moral panic based on the possible negative influences and danger that the fictional character posed to children. Now, despite some media outlets adding to the aura of the Slender Man mythos by claiming that the figure's origins are unclear, in fact, the character's origins is easily traceable. Slender Man, in his original form, was created by Eric under the alias of Victor Surge. He was responding to a call on Something Awful for posters to contribute digitally altered photographs that would then serve as bias for the new mythologies or story. He posted on June 10, 2009, showing a group of teenagers and children with the now familiar figure of Slender Man standing in the background. At first glance, the images seem normal, but the figure's size and featureless face, once noticed, give the pictures an eerie and unsettling feeling. Alongside the images, he provided small snippets of out-of-context text protruded to be witness accounts that give hints about the scene depicted and their relation to the anomalous figure of the Slender Man. By attaching short snippets of text with his images, he transformed the lone image into the first Slender Man story, albeit in a non-linear and fragmentary form. Following this initial appearance, the Slender Man character was then picked up by other users, who either fit him into their own narratives or wrote shorts, accounts of alleged encounters with the character, sculpting as they did some of the features recognized today. With each new detail and new count, posters helping in building a mythos around the character, that become of its viral scope and a myriad of conflicting details and accounts did not retain a canon version, and this process happened fast. The day after his posts, a user named LeechCode5 posted a photo with a backstory featuring Slender Man. By 14th of June, a user named Trenchmole had used Slender Man in his own story. Another user posted a story about a figure in Germany who stalked children on the edge of the forts, providing an inventive historical reference point for the character. On June 20th of the same year, Slender Man became the subject of a YouTube video series based upon an earlier Something Awful post by the user Troy. The series, which alleged to detail interactions or discoveries about the Slender Man, made working on a film project named Marble Hornets. This series of videos was supported by a Twitter feed, and a second YouTube channel allowed the character to move from being a text, image, and form-based phenomenon to being an ARG, with the character now being referred to, discussed, and modified across a number of different platforms and modalities by an ever-growing number of contributors. Now, we enter the Slender Man Creepypasta story. I hope you enjoy. After waking up with a jolt, the girl laid in a bed a few seconds longer, reaching over to switch her bedside lamp. She tried to remember exactly what had stolen her sweet slumber away. When she couldn't, the brunette swung her legs over the side of the bed and heaved herself up. Checking the time on her phone, she snorted when she saw it was midnight, the witching hour. Honestly, I know the witching hour is 3 a.m., but okay. Knowing that sleep would only evade her, she left her bedroom for the kitchen. A good cup of coffee on her mind. Interesting. For over. As she passed by her front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine. It's only winter, she told herself, focusing again on the coffee plant. Measuring out scoops, water, and preparing her cup kept her occupied. But as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep her mind from wandering off. The chill returned and she couldn't help but glance behind her to the front door. Honestly, I do the same thing. It stood there innocently enough, just like mine. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing amiss with it. Turning back to her coffee, she did her best to forget about the feeling. With her cup in hand, she started back towards the door. As she walked by the front door, she decided that a quick glance out the peephole would help her calm her restless mind. The chill worsened with each step she took towards the door, and further away from the safety and warmth of her blankets. She pressed her empty hand against the cold metal door and took a deep breath before leading her eye to the peephole. At first, she could only see an inky blackness, and somehow seemed to swirl in it itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away. She wished it hadn't. In its place, there stood what she could only guess was once a man. The limbs were long and inhumanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off into several arms, unlike the branches of a tree. The creature was draped in a black suit, somehow making the thing more nightmarish to her. The icing on the cake, however, was what passed as the hellish thing's face. It was as though her mind blurred the ghastly facade to spare itself further from horror and shock. She shoved herself away from the door, with the hand still pressed against it. The scalding mug of coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backwards and tried to crawl away from the door. She knew somehow that her mind hadn't been playing tricks on her. As she walked away from the door, she watched as tendrils as black as the void she first saw snake around through the cracks. The girl was trapped between the instinct to flee and the gut feeling to not turn her back on the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her and she slipped into the burning liquid as she tried to make it back to her room. She knew deep down that she was trapping herself in a corner, but she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hallway when she heard the previously locked door creak open. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin in it and stunning her. After that, there was only blackness. Nicole, a warm male voice snapped the woman out of her trance. As she turned around, she was met by one of her sister's doctor. She nodded, not sure if she should say anything or if she could find her voice if she did have something to say. That morning she had gotten an urgent call from the hospital saying that her sister, Lindsay, was there. Before they had even let her see her, the doctor had pulled her off to the side, insisted that they talk about what might have happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicole felt her mind reel. She still hadn't fully understood what they had been saying until she saw Lindsay with her own eyes. Her little sister had bandages wrapped around her head, covering both her ears as well as her eyes. They said it was to keep the dead-ended eyes from drying out and to try to keep the infection out of the wounds Lindsay had made to her ears. The doctors had guessed that either she or someone else had jammed a pencil into them to keep her off balance or defend herself against something. There was a mix of first and second-degree burns on her hands, legs, and feet from what was assumed to be the coffee from her neighbors found slipped all over the entry of her apartment. As Nicole walked into her sister's hospital room she thought she had spied the silhouette of a man in the window. That she knew was impossible. Her sister's room was on the third story of the hospital. Credit anonymous. And that is the end of the Slender Man story. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed this build. For me, Slender Man lives in a mansion. That's how I always viewed him. And that's how I viewed this build. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.